So, you have heard the phrase "money talks."
I have heard it many a time.
Well, money does talk, and somebody I was listening actually to a Jay-Z line. For you guys who don't know, I'm a lifetime Hova fan.
Right on.
And he's got a line in one of his songs: "If money talks, then I must be screaming." Right?
Right.
And it made me think of a couple anecdotes about really when you're handling money and the world knows you're handling money at a certain level, that the rules that apply to the masses don't apply to you.
Right.
Because actually your money is doing the talking for you.
Yeah.
Right? So let me give you a setting. It is 1983.
Okay.
Eddie the Fat Man Jackson has just been released from federal prison, coming off of the 32-man run, his grand hustle of the 70s, and he's now a free man. He's at a car dealership by the name of Packard Pontiac, owned by a guy named Dave Rice.
Okay.
Now, by the time this story happens, Eddie has bought a Corvette, the new 84 Corvette in 83 that hadn't come out yet.
Wow.
Bought Eddie Baby brand new Trans Am T-top. Bought the family a new Bonneville. Bought his daughter, I think Pontiac 6000 STE, and he's already ordered his 500 SEC coupe. This is all within about 6 months of him being free.
Wow.
So, Mom is, unbeknown to her, happens to be at the car dealership. At this time, Mom is still not. This is maybe about 2 years before she's about to launch the family business. So she's a director for the state,
Okay.
an administrator, a bureaucrat, right?
Right.
So she's still waiting on Pops to come home. Eddie got actually released. We'll get into that, how the irony on how that worked, that Eddie got out before my father got out. But different story for a different time. It was true, but the authorities told him for his loyalty he would be punished, and he would end up doing more time than Eddie on that case. So anyway, Mom's at the car dealership, going about doing what regular people do when they go buy cars, which is fill out all kinds of paperwork and deposit, and anybody who's ever bought a car back in the day knows it used to damn near be like an all-day thing.
Right.
And any inconsistency in the paperwork or credit score
can throw the whole process off about maybe 24 hours.
Easily. It was nothing for back in the day. You go to the dealership, think you're buying a car, this paperwork didn't get back in, this, that, and the third. If you're not paying for the car cash, it was an all-day thing.
Yeah.
So Mom's in there doing the paper pusher thing, buying her car. As fate would have it, Eddie Jackson walks by. They think they recognize each other, but they're not sure. He comes back in the office and says, "Hey, T, is that you?" Mom's like, "Oh, Eddie, good to see you. Glad you out." Yada, 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 yada. Conversation's all cool, all friendly. He's like, "So what you doing out here, T?" And Mom like, "I'm buying me a Pontiac 6000.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, good. That's nice. It's nice. I just bought my daughter one of them." He said, "Well, what's going on? Why you got all them papers in front of you?" And Mom made the mistake of being honest with the big man. She tells him that they had to rerun the credit check and then find out if the down payment was sufficient. And this is, again, the dealership he's at, he had already bought during his grand hustle over 100 Cadillacs from the man. Literally. So Dave Rice and the people who run this dealership are more than familiar with who this man is, what his stature is, what his wealth is, right? So she tells Eddie that they got to do some double checking on the paperwork.
Okay.
He just loses it. He starts screaming, "Dave, where's Dave at?" The assistant manager comes out. What's the problem, Mr. Jackson? I don't want to talk to you. I need to talk to Dave. What's going on here? T need a car. She need a car now. She ain't got time for all this silly ass paperwork. Get that woman that car. She need that car right now. Dave Rice, the owner, comes out like, Eddie, what's going on? What's going on? He said, I just was talking to T, and she told me y'all got her in here filling all this silly ass paperwork, talking about credit scores and all that. That woman need that car. She need the car now. Money talks.
Yeah.
The owner of the car dealership tells his general manager, just give her the keys to the car. No more talking, no more paperwork, no more signatures. The guy's like, but she's got to fill out this and registration, and she's like, give her the keys. It's her car now. My mother says they come back, and the only thing they did was hand her the keys and say, we apologize for not having time to wash it.
Wow.
We'll get you the documents in time and get all the rest of it sorted out, but the car's yours now. Off of this man's banter.
Right. But money talks.
But money talk. Like this money, this car, we ain't talking about ain't nothing. You're inconveniencing a friend of mine.
And bullshit runs the decathlon.
And you know, the guys with money like me don't let my friends suffer these kind of situations.
Right.
And so it's just a little funny story, but it is true, family. It's the reason why we all need to get our finances and affairs in order, because I assure you there's a different world when the world knows you are a person of resources.
Ain't it though?
All the same rules that apply. There are rules for people with resources, and then there's other rules for everybody else.
Big time.
And people with resources don't live by the same rules.
That's right.
Like, you got to sign this and get the title signed, and you need to show proof of insurance and registration before we can let you leave the car lot.
Not what you know, but who you know.
And who you know, what they know about you.
Ain't that the truth?
So if the car dealership knows that this is $1 million client.
That's right.
And I'm not going to lose $1 million client over a $20,000 car.
That's right.
I don't care what Miss Brown does with this car. Give her this car and make my $1 million client happy. Because big man's money was always talking.
Your father had a similar situation, am I correct?
Another example of money talking.
Yeah, exactly.
So those who have seen the movie Casino know that the mob was very involved in how Vegas got started, right? All the way going back to its inception. Mm-hmm. With Benjamin Bucky Siegel. Right. And those who really know the story know that the Purple Gang, the Jewish mob located right out of here, Detroit, had a lot to do with that whole Vegas thing.
Right on.
And some people really connected to both situations are the Goldfar Construction and Goldfar bail bondsmen.
Right.
They were the biggest bail bondsmen of the back in the day. Shout out to Chucky and R.I.P. to Irving Goldfar. Right there, still on Bobian.
Mm-hmm. That's your cousin.
Hey, cuz, what up, though? We gonna get Chino on here real soon. Yeah, Chino got to come on here.
Big time.
Chino got to get us some music for our intros.
You're right.
Yeah, love you, cuz. So Goldfar, the biggest thing in bail bondsman, biggest thing in construction in Detroit area, completely tied in with all of those people, right?
Yeah.
So they wrote all those $1 million bonds for Eddie back in the day. You know, Eddie was keeping himself and the other 32 people on his indictment out on bond all the way from 71 when they were arrested to 77 when they have to turn themselves in. Despite, because it went through local courts, district, federal, state, superior, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they kept writing bonds. Yeah. So during the course of this whole thing, there's a situation where they had anticipated there having to be $200,000 worth of bonds posted to keep everybody out to the next trial, to the next court hearing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it ended up being they only had to pay $175,000 in bonds this particular juncture. So Pops is down at Chucky Goldfar's place, their place down on Bobian, right across the street from the old headquarters at 1300 Bobian.
Right.
And he says, all right, Courtney, here. He writes him a check, writes Pop a check for $25,000, says, get this back to y'all because we don't need to hold your money. Yeah. And we put up the $175. We thought it was $2. Here's the $25 back. Pops is like, fine. He's like, yeah, you just go cash it now. So Pop goes to Manufacturers Bank, which is now Comerica Bank, right?
Okay.
Now, again, to put some time reference to this is still the early 70s, where $25,000 is like
That's
250K
our money.
of today's value in money. Maybe at the rate of inflation now, maybe more than that, more than that, the way inflation is right now.
Maybe closer to 3.
Yeah. So you know what would happen if you were a young black man and you walked into a bank, your local bank today, with a personal check for $300,000.
Right.
Some people might think that there was some type of fraud or something clever.
They do you done. Like Ryan Coogler. You know what happened to Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther. He went in, you know, he had his mask on, COVID or whatnot, and then he wrote the statement, you know, for, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about maybe 25,000 or 50,000, something like that. Nice size amount because he pays in cash. They called the police because they figured he was trying to rob the place.
Wow.
Yes.
And this is the guy who directed Black Panther?
Yes.
Go figure. See, well, game ain't changed.
Down in Georgia.
So that's still happening today.
That's still happening today, folks.
So Pop's trying to cash this check from the Goldfars. They telling them this and that. Every reason in the world why they can't cash the check. Finally, the branch manager comes and says, hey, we can't cash this check. The Goldfar bond bails bondsmen they don't got $25,000 in the bank.
Right.
Pop ain't thinking no more of it. He like, whatever, I'm going to take the check back down to Chuck, Goldfar. They'll straighten it out. So he go back down to Chuck's office. Chuck on the phone, he like, hey, everything work out with the check? And Pop just being a little sarcastic say, Chuck, they say y'all ain't got enough money in the bank. They wouldn't cash the check. And he was like, Chuck Goldfar hung up the phone and said, what did you say? Repeat that again, please. He said, the people at the bank said, y'all ain't got the money in the bank to cover this $25,000 check. He was like, the man's face turns red. He's like, just have a seat for a second, Courtney. Picks up the phone, calls the bank. All he hears Goldfar says, I need to speak to the president of the bank. Not to the branch manager. He wants to talk to the president of Manufacturers Bank.
Right.
The fact that he knew the office number to call was the first indication, because most people ain't got the president's office number.
That's right.
Direct number to his secretary. Secretary answers phone, president who's calling. Tell him Chuck Goldfar needs to talk to him. It's an emergency. Obviously, bank president gets on the phone. How you doing, Chuck? He says, Goldfar tells the man, he says, sir, or whatever he called him.
Right.
I just sent a personal friend of mine to cash a check for $25,000. And I'm really embarrassed about this, because one of your branch managers told my friend that he couldn't cash the check for him because we didn't have enough money in the bank. And I guess, Pops, as he describes the story, the bank manager started trying to double talk him, and Chuck wasn't in the mood to hear any of it. He says, so let me help you out. I'm going to send my friend back to that same branch. And if you guys can't cash this $25,000 check, I'll be down by the end of business today, and please have me and my brothers $1.5 million that we've got in CDs ready, and I'm closing my account. President's like, send them back, please, Mr. Goldfar. This has been a horrible misunderstanding. Pop say when he gets back down to the bank, he just sees a white man in a suit, not inside the bank, standing outside the bank in the parking lot. He say before he could even walk in the bank, the white man say, "Are you Mr. Brown?" He says, "Yes." He said, "You associate Mr. Goldfar?"
Right.
He says he hands him the envelope with the $25,000 cash. Didn't even take the check. He come back down to Chuck. Chuck say they straightened it out for you, didn't they, Courtney? He say, yeah, I got the 25,000 cash and I still got the check. The Goldfar's money was talking.
Oh yeah, it was talking loud.
When he told them people, either you treat my friend nice or you give me back my $1.5 million, I'll find somebody else that can hold my money.
Oh no, they was hopping, boy.
The fat man used to say that money get them crackers hopping. When you pull out that big buddy, them crackers get the hopping, boy. So yeah, just a little funny story. Back in the day, if money talks, the fat man's money was screaming.
Screaming and hollering.
Screaming and hollering.
R.I.P. Eddie Jackson.
R.I.P. R.I.P. And he's about to get his full flowers in 2023.
Ain't that the truth?
And speaking of that, shout out to Eddie Baby down there. Happy New Year, brother. Down there at Real True Street Crimes. Shout out to Al Prophet, American Dope. We hollering at you real soon. The house should be in town soon. Yeah. Shout out to our sponsor, Vinyl Apparel. Oh, yeah. Hope you guys got by there for the new year to check out Vinyl's Apparel, located on Davidson between Linwood and Dexter. That is Vinyl's Apparel, Detroit's hottest in fashion apparel, and his sister business, brother business, located right next to it, Blazing Hookahs. You guys gotta check them out. Again, they're right there on Davidson between Linwood and Dexter. Cannot miss it in the plaza. Vinyl's Apparel and Blazing Hookahs. Ask for Vinyl, ask for Bow Wow, ask for Kayla. Any of them will take care of you. Shout out to the whole family and team over there at Vinyl's. I did, I got a streak, so I popped in there. If I've been in town, I've not missed a Christmas Eve at Vinyl's in over 20 some years since we started when we opened Gear Unlimited around the street.
Oh yeah.
And so it's good. Just an absolute institution in the neighborhood. And again, Vinyl's Apparel, I think that Vinyl's got the best fashion eye in the city. So shout out to him and make sure you guys get by there. Again, just mention Big Lou, mention Pops, mention Big Boss Filmworks, mention Motown Mafia Podcast, and the good people at Vinyl's Apparel will take care of you, or they'll take care of you over at Blazing Hookahs. You can also rent Blazing Hookahs for some private affairs. It's a great event space also.
Man, we got to do a show there.
I mean, that's gonna happen. I mean, like immediately